All right, everyone. Welcome to the CrossFit Control podcast. So it's been a couple months since we had an episode, but we're kicking it back off, and we're going to start it off with a really good guest. We got Debra Raber. She has been with us since the very beginning. You were in our Founders Club. Your husband's also in the Founders Club. I think your story is going to inspire some people. So what we want to talk about today is, one, when I first met you, you and Greg had just started dating. You were a single mom of three, working three jobs, still trying to find a partner, and you were making it in here 3 to 5 days a week. And so that's really what we want to talk about is how did you manage your time? How do you do it now with the family? How do you, because I mean, it's almost every day. It's either you and Greg are taking the kids to school or to work, or something comes up, but you guys always manage to be in here. So that's what we really want to talk about today. And then I also have a co-host today. It's Jason Smith. He's our 6 a.m.er. You want to say hi, Jason?
Good morning.
So, Debra, can you just give us your background? What was your fitness background, and then maybe talk about what you do now.
Okay. Well, I've always been active, always played sports. I went to a really small single-A school growing up, and we only had basketball and cheerleading for girls, so I played basketball. The summertime, though, I played slow-pitch softball, but previously, even before that, played Little League baseball, and my dad always had us outside doing some kind of sports. We were always active, and in my neighborhood was always boys, so I was always playing outside with the boys. So always in competition with the boys, always wanted to be better than the boys. So then we graduated from high school. I went out as a walk-in on the softball team, and it was a fast pitch. I always played slow pitch, so I made the softball team, played 1 year of softball until I got into nursing school. Made the basketball team in college, but I decided not to play. But I've always been, even my job that I had, like you have those work jobs in college, I worked in the fitness center there. Just always wanted to be around fitness, and that's just always what it's just become natural. It's just something I always wanted to do. And then when I got married and had kids, all that went the wayside because you have the kids, and I always put everybody else first before me. So every now and then I would do some kind of video, like some kind of beach body thing or insanity, that type of stuff. But until my girls got older, I always just did everything. I didn't put myself first.
So when did you actually start CrossFit?
Well, I got divorced back in 2008, and I didn't really do any kind of fitness for several years until I moved to Fairmont, which probably was 5 or 6 years ago. And I fiddled around with another CrossFit for about 6 months, but I never made a commitment, never settled into a routine, and I don't know, I just never really had anyone at this CrossFit that really would push you or try to get a hold of you to make sure you're there, or try to, it just wasn't like a family. So then I saw the advertisement for here, and I just live right up the road. And I told Greg, I said, I'm going to check this out. And as he was doing physical therapy, or PT, not physical therapy, he was doing PT, personal trainer. And she had told him he had outgrown her and he needed to try CrossFit. So I made him come with me. And I mean, as soon as I walked in, you made me feel welcome, and it was just a completely different atmosphere than I had ever been to in the gym. And it's been amazing here. I mean, people say all the time, it's like a cliche, but we are a family here. And
Right. I know it's interesting because you guys have seen not just the growth of the gym, but like the growth of the coaches. And so you actually came to our first open house, right?
Right.
That was, It's crazy for me to see the growth that we've been able to put into this place and how everything has changed. Because like when you came to that open, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to get members so we could afford to pay rent. And
Right.
now you have seen the difference, and like rather than focusing on getting members to pay for bills, we're focused on getting members because we want to change lives. And I hope you can talk about how big of a change it's made for you, for Greg, and even Monica, who's been here for 2 months now. But do you want to talk about that? I know Greg has talked before about like the garden trip, but do you want, when you say like we're a family,
Yeah.
you want to talk about that, how we even came to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Greg had surgery on his knees and ripped his Achilles off, so he was bedridden for about 6 weeks, and he's a huge gardener. And Devan had called me. He said, "What can we do to help Greg?" And I said, "Well, he's not going to have a garden this year." So Devan said, "Okay, we'll make it happen." And my dad, or Greg, always put his garden in. My dad's in Buchanan, so there was probably 20 members of the gym. We met one Saturday morning and we planted the garden for Greg. And he just sat there and watched, and he was tearful. He's never been a part of association that would do something like that. And he said they'll never know what that meant to me. I mean, honestly, that's when I knew I was at the right place.
And his injury was not CrossFit related.
No.
I always try, because when I tell his story, because we have people coming all the time, they're like, I can't do it, and I said, I promise you can. And his story is one of three that I usually tell. He ripped his Achilles just playing tag. Like he just freak accident. He had some weakness in that tendon already.
He actually hadn't even started. He had turned to put his keys on the shelf and it popped.
It's just a freak accident.
Yep.
But no, I mean, I remember he wasn't even in his boot yet because he was fresh out of surgery, and we kept having to tell him just sit down because he wanted to get in the garden too, and he's out there on crutches. But no, we got out there and we helped him, and it was never even a thought. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I try to tell people too. Craig's a very giving person too. He's very humble about it. He never tells anybody, but he gives back to this place all the time, and to the people here. But those are the kind of people that you want, the people who aren't out to get recognition. They're just doing it because they want to.
And also I remember when he had his heart attack, I don't know how many calls and texts I got from people. What can I do? Do you need us to bring food to the hospital so you don't have to go anywhere? I mean, it's just always been that way here. And like, I honestly, it's just like a family. It's just like, and for me, coming to the gym and working out, it's not, when I get here, I'm in competitive mode just with myself, just because that's the way I've always been. I always try to do the best in the workouts. And but for me, it's more of a mental thing, being a single mom before with 3 girls, trying to raise 3 daughters, 3 teenage girls. It's mentally taxing on you, and this is my therapy. I mean, honestly, and people have always said to me, I can't believe you don't take medicine. I can't believe you're not on any kind of nerve medicine, depression medicine. But this is my therapy. And back when they told me that I had the bone spurs on my shoulder and I couldn't move my shoulders, and the neurologist told me not to do anything for a month, there was absolutely no way I couldn't come here for a month and not do anything.
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember if you texted me or if you came in and you were like, the doctors, they told me I can't come in for a month. And I was like, that's bullshit. Like, we had Greg who couldn't move his ankle and was still in here every day. And so we found a way to modify. I definitely want to get into that story. I also want you to talk about like what it's like raising 3 girls and how you, because I tell people all the time, like, I don't know how you do it. 3 girls, 3 jobs, no sleep, and you live off of Oreos, and you still come in and you crush people half your age. It's impressive. Can you talk about that? How do you manage? Are you still doing the 3 jobs?
Yes.
So how do you manage 3 jobs, and you work midnights at the VA? How do you manage 3 jobs, getting Gabby to school, getting Monica to work, and then you still come in here some days twice a day? How do you guys manage that?
I think it goes back to how I was raised. My dad instilled a good work ethic in me, and I've had a job since I was in 7th grade, so I've always that part of it isn't a big deal to me, but having I've just realized if I want what I want, then I have to make myself do it, and it's tough sometimes. Sometimes coming in here after working a 12-hour shift all night at the VA and coming in here at 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, honestly, there's some days I just want to go to bed, but I know if I do, I'll feel worse. I mean, mentally, I need to be here. And it's like you've told people before, you got to make it like it's a doctor's appointment. When you sign up on Wi-Fi, you make it here because you have to make that a priority in life. People, if they did that, they have no idea how much better they would feel.
Right. I think probably, I mean, there's over a dozen times you've come in before and you've been like, I'm not feeling it today. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I know a lot of times it's hard to walk in the door after working those hours and life happens. How do you have you ever had a time where you worked out? Did you ever regret it? Did you ever regret it? No matter how bad you felt beforehand, did you ever regret getting that hour in for yourself?
Absolutely not. I mean, you always feel better, and you're always glad that you did it. And honestly, I mean, I can say that 100% truth because there been times that I haven't come and wished and felt worse. Absolutely, yep.
I'm just sitting here like, kind of a lot of people have excuses in their time, and you can reason with yourself anyways. But like Devan has said, and like you reiterated, it's like a doctor's appointment, and you don't come if you always come when you feel like it. I mean, you wouldn't come most of the time. So I think it's cool how you kind of prioritize. And people always say, well, I can't wake up at 6 a.m. Well, why not? Like Devan says, no one ever says, well, I'm not an afternoon person or I'm not whatever.
Right.
And how you're juggling all these things, and you've came in, 6 or different times to fit it in and get your hour. And then some people, and you've gotten your results. I've seen you in here doing PT, like you said, multiple times. So I just think that's really cool, like just that level of like commitment.
Yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of it is I want to set an example like my dad set for me, for my girls. I want them to see that there really aren't any excuses. If you want something bad enough, you just got to go for it.
Do you want to talk about, so like Alexis is in pharmacy school, and so like you did an amazing job with and I know that you struggled with her when she was a teenager, but look at what she's accomplished now. And then look at what Monica's doing. I mean, I can't remember what her weight loss was, but she's down like close to 20 pounds in 2 months, right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to discuss that a little bit? What that has done for your family and how it's impacted?
Yeah, I mean, Alexis, she's going to school at University of South Florida in Tampa, and she's got 6 months left, and she'll graduate from pharmacy school. And she's even messaged me and thanked me for the way she was raised and apologized for all the crap she gave me when she was a teenager. And she told me, she said, with my divorce and everything, it was a bad divorce. And she said, through all of that, you were never bitter. You just kept going. And I'm glad that when they get older that they can see that and they can appreciate that. And Monica comes in here, and she even told me, she said, I'm getting a little obsessed with CrossFit now. I mean, she does do it. She's like, if I'll say, do you want to go do this? She goes, well, I got to go to CrossFit. So, and she's keeping her macros with Greg. Her and Greg are doing a great job doing that. And she's lost 20 some pounds since she's started here in 2 months.
Wow. That's a big deal. So can we talk about that for a second? Cause, Greg has 2 daughters from a previous marriage. You have 3 daughters from a previous marriage. Can you talk about his role as a step parent and what he's doing to impact the girls? Because he does all the cooking, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and he comes in, he works with Aaron, but
every now and then I do cook hamburger helper.
Mac and cheese. But like what is Greg doing to help the girls with their health and their fitness?
Oh, he's huge. As you can see here, he's a huge supporter, and that's the way he is at home. And he has talks with them that they haven't even come to me and talked about, even Gabby, and it took her a long time to open up to him. But Monica, just for instance, we went out to dinner, her and I last night. We went to Denny's, and there's really nothing on that menu that's healthy. And she just got water and ate when she got home. She said, I can't, there's nothing here I can eat. And she was even texting Greg. She goes, Mom took me to Denny's, and she said, there's nothing on this menu I can eat. He goes, yeah, that's all crap there. But so it's just like, it's just been huge for him. And I think when Greg and I did the competition together, and Monica commented when I put a picture of Greg and I on Facebook, she put Mom and Dad with a heart. He got all teary-eyed, and he said that really meant a lot that she called me Dad. And Gabby, for the, probably the last few months, since Greg's dad had passed away, she's been telling him that she loves him and that I didn't ever think that would happen.
Yeah.
So that shows you what a huge impact he's had on my girls.
It's cool to see you two work together as a really good team, because I've seen before where, you're working and he takes Gabby to school before he comes in for his PT session, or you might drop Monica off for class, he picks her up, or he drops her off and he'll hang out here and he'll talk to people because he already did class earlier. So you guys are working together as a team to make sure health is an important role in the entire family.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why it works out so well for us. I mean, until I met him, I hadn't been able to come regularly. He's just helped out huge. It's great to have a partner that's supportive and has the same mindset as you.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your, it wasn't an injury, so the bones, was it over a year ago at this point?
Yeah, it was after I did the June competition at Sozo.
You're good. Gentry's yelling for me. Here, you go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna go check on her.
Okay. And then it was Murph. Before that, we were on vacation, Myrtle Beach, and I had done Murph, and I did all strict pull-ups in that workout there, and strict push-ups, and I wasn't. And then I did the competition. I think I just hadn't rested enough, but then all of a sudden, my shoulder, I couldn't even move my arms over my head on my right side. I couldn't. And I was having numbness going down my arm, and so I went to the doctor, and they ordered an MRI, but it was just bone spurs, and not just, it was a huge thing, and I had tendonitis in my bicep on my right arm, so I wasn't, and that's when they told me that I needed to take a whole month of not doing anything, and to me, that didn't make any sense because I wasn't going to get any blood flow.
Right.
And I wasn't going to, how was that going to make anything better, just not using it at all? So, and then when I came and told Devan, and he was like, I was like, and it just goes to show you, it takes a lot, because I was crushing a lot of stuff. Like, I was doing things I hadn't done before. I was lifting weights that I hadn't lifted before, and then it was like, bam, I had to start all over. And honestly, it was really hard, and it was hard for me to come in here and not be able to lift like I had before. But I was thankful that I was even able to come in here and do that. But it took a long time to even get my arms over my head.
It's frustrating, but we had a plan the entire time, right?
Yep.
And so and I know it's frustrating, but and we talked about this. We had to get blood flow to the area. We had to clean up the scar tissue. We had to get it mobilized, and then we could start building strength. And so for a while, 2 to 3 months, we just did like basic mobility work and a lot of hanging, trying to get the body to get into the shapes that you wanted. And then once we were able to create the shapes and you were no longer in pain, then we started building the strength back. Mm-hmm. And I know it was frustrating because, there were days where you were 10 pounds on the dumbbell was hard. You remember that?
Yep.
And then we slowly built up over time. And now, what'd you do this week? You had what, 3 or 4 overhead accomplishments this week, right?
Yeah. Well, this week I was finally able to do kipping pull-ups again. Well, not again. I'd never been able to do kipping. I could only do strict, which made no sense. But I hadn't, for a year and a half, it was the last thing that I couldn't do. I still couldn't do a regular push-up. And this week, finally, I was able to do strict push-ups again.
You get 4 in a row.
Yeah, and it was huge because, I mean, before I could just knock out 10 or 20, and so to go from not even being able to do that because it just hurt so bad, and then to be able to do that was amazing to me. I mean, and then in PT, we were doing wall walks and handstands, and my shoulders just hurt so bad I couldn't do them, and I was just jumping up and doing them like it was nothing. It was, I don't know, to me, I was pretty happy and pretty amazed at the last few weeks, the progress just with that. I mean, I finally gotten back the bench press, the floor press that we did, I couldn't go past 85 pounds. I mean, I just couldn't lift it up, and this week I did 115 pounds, not once, but more than once, and I hadn't been able to do that in over a year and a half, almost 2 years. So it's slow progress, but that's why you just have to keep going, and you have to work hard if that's something that you want.
Like you said, even, the mental, when you were told not to come in here, but everything is modifiable. So we can find something that will fit you and to get that injury, like blood flowing in the area, but also that mental aspect, like you said before, of just being in here, moving, not just sitting at home dwelling on the injury, wishing you were able to do it. So that's cool, that fighting through that.
And also just being here because people are so supportive and so encouraging. Even the new people that join the gym, it's just like they automatically turn into that role. Everyone's just so supportive, and I don't know, that's one of the awesome things that I like about this place is just how supportive and how encouraging everyone is to each other.
Kindness is contagious, and you can see it in here. Everyone in here is so kind, and when we do get one of those weeds in the bunch, they don't last very long because they either change and they become a better person, or they just move on because we're not the right fit for them. Like it is true. Like I say this all the time. We're in Fairmont, West Virginia. We're in the unhappiest state, the unhealthiest state, but I'm surrounded by the nicest people every day, so I don't even realize it until I go to Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When we talk about injuries, there's a saying in CrossFit: our needs don't vary by kind, but by degree. And so, even though you were struggling with those, you still had an option every single day you came in. It's funny, Jason had. It's not funny that you had your dirt bike wreck, but he texted me a couple weeks ago and he was like, "Hey, I stove my shoulder pretty bad. Do you think you can do it?" And in my head, I'm like, "That's an easy one." Like I've fixed dozens of shoulders at this point. And here's the thing: I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist, but I work really hard to make sure I'm providing you guys with the best information. And Greg told me the other day, he's like, I come to you before I go to the doctor because usually you have the fix. And I will tell you if I don't. But, would you say that that's true? Like, how often have you come to me and it hasn't worked?
Right, none. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what Greg said. He said, I don't care what anybody says about that boy. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you would like to share with the listeners?
I just think that finding a gym that you fit into is kind of like when you're searching for a church, you have to find the right fit. And the very first day I came here, I knew that this was the right fit.
What do you like about what we do here?
I like the structure. I like how everything's planned. I like how you can modify anything in any workout. If you come in here and your arm's hurting or your shoulder's hurting, all you have to do is tell one of the coaches and they'll tell you what to do. I like that if you're lifting and your form sucks, they tell you take weight off. And so you don't get injured.
Have you ever seen that anywhere?
Never.
Tell you to take weight off so you don't get injured?
No. It's... And that was a hard thing for me because, especially with the cleans, because it took me forever to learn the technique, and no one had ever shown me the technique for any of the lifts. So when I came here, that's when I learned all the techniques, And when you learn the right techniques, and it's going to take you a while, but like you always say, your PR is going to come. And I like that too, because I like the warm up, and then the warm ups so that we don't get hurt. So our bodies are nice and warm. We got good blood flow to wherever we need it for that workout. The modification, I like how the coaches keep you safe. And then the cool down. Some places don't even do a cool down. You just leave.
Right. So you just said something I say all the time. The PR will come. How many times have you been in here and you've been like, I just want to go for it, and I say save it for another day? And I know it's frustrating. I really do, but doesn't it pay off in the long run to save it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know that's probably one of the things I get. People get the most frustrated with me is if I think something's going to happen, I would rather you guys be able to save it for another day, because it will. That PR will absolutely come. But if we go forward and we get injured, it's going to take a lot longer to get back versus if we just lay back and,
Yep.
Let's focus on another day.
I mean, I don't know the times that I've been in here and my back might be a little tweaked on the right side and we're doing deadlifts, and that's my lift. That's the one I love. And I'll go to put my belt on and at a weight that I should never have put my belt on, and you're like, what are you doing? And I said, well, my back. And you're like, well, then don't go up in the weight. And it's frustrating because that's the lift that you can lift heavy, but why try to injure yourself when there's another day?
Yeah. It's been cool, Deborah. I hope that people listen to this and they get inspired, one, by the injury setback, two, by the commitment that you make regardless of working 3 jobs and raising 3 girls.
Well, and then also just to say, there are some days that I literally don't get more than 3 hours of sleep. And I come in here because and people just say, I don't have time. Then you're not important to yourself.
I like it. That's going to be the snip that yeah.
Say that one more time.
If you don't have time, you're just not important to yourself.
I'm gonna take that one. All right, I think that's a good way to end it.
Yep.
Thanks, Deborah.
You're welcome.